Support for WNYC comes from the New York Phil, presenting Hitchcock's psychological thriller Vertigo, live in concert, as the film plays on a towering screen above the orchestra, January 23rd through 26th at David Geffen Hall. Tickets at nyphil.org.
At home or out and about, you're never too far from your mobile phone, which means you're never too far from WNYC. Live stream your favorite shows anytime. Just go to your browser and type in wnyc.org.
The first votes of the election year are being cast in Iowa. A slate of Republican candidates is competing for the support of caucus goers in an election year unlike any other in recent memory. I'm Aisha Roscoe. Join me and Scott Detrow next Monday for live special coverage of the Iowa Republican caucus from NPR News.
Live coverage begins tonight at 8 on WNYC or live stream it at wnyc.org.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Tim Franks. On today's NewsHour, what will we learn today in Iowa? Also, rebels in Myanmar capture a big town. That's BBC NewsHour, coming up at 9 on WNYC.
26 with some clouds out there. Winter weather advisory starts tonight, goes through till tomorrow afternoon. Today's forecast mostly cloudy and 32 real feel down to 15. And then tonight after midnight, snow is likely, a low of 28, maybe an inch or two of snow. And then tomorrow, a mix of rain and snow with a high of 34. Again, 1 to 2 inches, so maybe 1 to 3 inches of accumulation. Once again, 26 with clouds and some sun out there. It's 8:52.
The State of the Unions.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Deloitte. Unlocking innovation takes more than AI or cloud. It takes outcome-focused application, too. Learn more at Deloitte.com/US/engineering advantage. And by UiPath. More than 10,000 organizations use the UiPath AI-powered business automation platform to put AI to work. UiPath.com/marketplace. UiPath, the foundation of innovation.
From Marketplace, I'm Sabri Benishore, in for David Brancaccio. U.S. markets are closed today in honor of civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Markets reopen tomorrow, Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Wall Street time. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated after speaking with striking sanitation workers in Memphis. In the decades since King's murder, strikes have gotten more rare. But data from Cornell University shows that over the last 2 years, strike activity has been picking up. Marketplace's Justin Ho has more.
A lot of the big strikes last year were against big employers, Hollywood studios, the big three automakers. But Kathy Creighton at Cornell University says many of them were against smaller employers.
Restaurants, higher education, warehouse workers, a lot of teachers and public sector workers.
And those workers watched last year as the big strikes won big concessions from studios and automakers. Jake Rosenfeld, a professor at Washington University in St. Louis, says those wins create momentum.
We know from past research that successful strikes prove contagious. They tend to lead to other strikes.
Workers know that going on strike comes with the risk of job loss. But Rosenfeld says they also know they have options, considering how tight the labor market is right now.
It grants them the freedom to take risks at work, such as participating in a strike or threatening to unionize, without the fear that such activity could lead to a prolonged period of joblessness.
And as long as the unemployment rate stays low, Rosenfeld says strike activity will likely keep up. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive. Progressive Commercial Auto Insurance protects the cars, trucks, and vans that work to keep small businesses moving forward, including protection while running errands and other tasks. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by C3 Generative AI. Verified traceable answers, secure, hallucination-free, LLM-agnostic, IP liability-free. Learn more at c3.ai. And by Odoo, focused on providing all-in-one open-source business management software with fully integrated applications for every business need. More at odoo.com.
Workers have had it okay in recent years. Some 2.7 million jobs were created last year, and the unemployment rate never rose above 4%, which is all the more impressive when you take into account that in the 4 decades before 2020, worker gains, in particular on wages, were limited, if not anemic. Many factors have been at work there, but some economists suspect one issue has been employment restrictions, as in non-compete agreements. They make it harder to take a new job and thereby get a raise. These agreements are illegal for a lot of jobs in some states, but still legal in many other states. Marketplace senior economics contributor Chris Farrell read through the literature on this and joined Marketplace Morning Report host David Brancaccio to share more. Here's David.
I once had a non-compete clause in a minimum wage job. These are about you can't leave and work for a competitor for a period of time, right?
Right. And these restrictive non-competes, it varies a lot by state. And there really isn't a comprehensive data set on non-competes, but the estimates range between 18% and 40% of the American workforce is impacted by these agreements. And they typically involve, high skill, high wage professionals like financiers, software engineers. But they have become surprisingly widespread in lower wage industries. That's the experience that you had. Hairstylists, office cleaners. This is according to a report by the Federal Reserve Bank in Minneapolis.
We've reported on the Federal Trade Commission in Washington is actively working to try to regulate many or most of these non-competes out of existence.
Yes. And so California, North Dakota, Oklahoma, they essentially have bans on non-competes. Colorado and Minnesota have now joined the movement. And other states haven't gone quite that far, David. But, it seems like most are creating new restrictions.
What do we know about the impact that non-compete limits have on workers?
Okay, so there's a recent study, 3 economists, the labor market effects of legal restrictions on worker mobility, and they find that increases in non-compete enforceability, that decreased workers' earnings and mobility from 1991 to 2014.
And did they detect a big hit?
It is significant. They calculate that if a state moves from the 25th percentile to the 75th percentile in terms of enforcing non-competes, workers see a 1.7% average decline in annual earnings. And they say making non-competes unenforceable nationwide could boost average earnings among all workers by 3.2% to 14.2%.
Now, employers, businesses worry about trade secrets and the training that they invested in their workers, and many have been lobbying hard or suing to keep the non-compete arrangements.
Yeah, it does still appear that the tide is turning. And see what you think of this idea, David. Besides helping workers, an additional factor that is providing momentum to the anti-non-compete initiatives is the suspicion that it could be a real boon to innovation. There's a series of fascinating studies that were done years ago looking into high-tech innovation. And these studies have argued that California's long-term ban on non-competes, that helped Silicon Valley become the epicenter of high-tech entrepreneurship. In comparison, take the competitor, Boston's high-tech corridor, Route 128. Well, it fell short early on, perhaps because Massachusetts allowed businesses to limit employee mobility.
Marketplace's senior economics contributor, Chris Farrell, thank you.
Thanks a lot, David.
Over the last year, the Biden administration has announced steps geared at making credit more available to minority business owners. The timing, though, has been tricky. Rising interest rates have been making credit more expensive for all borrowers, and last year's banking debacle caused a lot of lenders to pull back on loan making altogether. Today on our afternoon sister program, Marketplace, they'll talk with bankers, experts, and a small business about whether the Biden administration's efforts to help minority business owners get loans are running into trouble thanks to the current lending environment. Listen to Marketplace on your local public radio station or at marketplace.org. In New York, I'm Sabri Benishore with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.